What's going on, people? So, I mentioned before in some past Air Max video what my favorite silhouettes were or whatever, and somewhere in there, because it wasn't ranked, so somewhere in there was the Air Max Plus, right? The problem being, like, as much as I would like to buy more of them, the colorways have been kind of mostly missed, not so much hit, and then the ones that I did like, I like to wait on the sales, and I've been, I guess, just waiting too long or something, or I wouldn't notice the sales when they happened, because when I would go back for them, they'd all be gone. But this time around, I saw these, and I was like, oh, well, you know what? I'm just going to jump in now. I had, like, some sort of coupon and bring it down just a little bit. Not as much as I would have liked, but hey, it was enough for me to obviously buy them, right? This right here, in case you're curious, on the side of the box, there's some stuff over there for you. So I bought these from Champs. They shipped out from Duluth. I'm not sure which state, but on the little invoice thing it said thanks from Team Duluth. So thank you also to Team Duluth for getting these out pretty quickly. But anyways, I was talking about these yesterday with some random dude that I saw in the parking lot, you know, because he walked by in one of the pairs that I wanted, which was basically the inverted ones. So they were mostly red with the black stripes. I'm like, yeah, those are pretty cool, man, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, those are cool, what you have on, which was the Air Max Plus Deluxe. And then we talked a little bit about some random things. He went on for a while about Prefontaine, and then we parted ways. But either way, enough of the whole backstory and whatnot about things you don't really care about. You probably just want to hear about these shoes and whatever this crap is on the side of them. Probably glue or something. So let's go ahead and just do that, right? So once again, this right here is the Air Max Plus in the black and red colorway. Some might call it Bred. Depends on who you ask. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to switch shoes out here real quick, so I like to use the right one, personal thing. We're going to start this with the bottom. Down there, what you're looking at is pretty much the standard outsole for any pair of Air Max Pluses, at least as far as the way the design is, right? You got some black, you got some red. That about sums that up, and then there's that T-in. Now, moving up here to the midsole, right? This is also very much the standard stuff, nothing too fancy about it, but it does look pretty nice, so I'll give them that. Once again, it's the standard black and the red. And then if you come over here to the inside, one thing that does have a little bit of a switch up is down here on the back inner bubble. You have the you have the red and the yellow, which somebody had pointed out to me several videos ago, that pretty much all Air Max Pluses have that same colors on the inside. So I don't know what the reason is for that, but you know, a little bit of trivia for you or something, I guess. Moving right along. Let's go ahead and talk about this here upper, which is pretty much the main part of the shoe, and as you have seen already, pretty simple, right? Not a whole lot going on there, and that's fine, because sometimes simple is enough. So moving on in here fairly closely, you can see that this is sort of one of those mesh type of uppers or whatever. When it comes to the Air Max Plus, they do kind of switch it up just a little bit as far as what materials they use, and that does kind of come into play with like the comfort at times, but I'll talk about that later, I guess. But anyway, so right here, you do have more of that, it's like that stiffer sort of mesh that they have on a lot of these. So you got that to expect. And then otherwise, that does just go throughout the rest of the shoe. And then otherwise, you have the standard striping. This time around, it has like a gradient effect. So it goes from black to red or red to black, depending on which side you look at first. So that about sums up some things, right? But moving on back here to the midsection, you do have the swoosh there, which is kind of done in the same sort of style, red and black, right? Not so much of a gradient effect, it's just outlined. And then as you move to the back, what you have on the very back is just going to be that TN logo that you had on the bottom. Also, one thing that I didn't quite mention, you can see it while we're back there, right? This is kind of like maybe it's nubuck sort of feel that's going on there in the black, and that kind of outlines the whole lower region of the shoe right above the midsole. So there's something that I kind of overlooked. And otherwise, not a whole lot to say. I could cover, I guess, this whole piece around the front of the toes area, which I'm glad that it's black, because on my frequency pack pair, that pair is always getting scuffed up. I made a video about it like a while ago, and actually did pretty well for itself. So this, I mean, even if they get scuffed, it's black, so it shouldn't be a problem, which is a good thing. Definitely a good thing. Anyway, so that's about the outside of the shoe. So we're just going to go ahead and move on and talk about these laces and stuff, because that's the last part of the outside anyway. So over here you've got that same type of lacing system that I was talking about recently. excuse me, the same type of laces I was talking about recently, where they're not completely round, they're not quite flat either. I forget what review that was, but same sort of thing going on here. And then the way the lacing is, they have those little loops and whatnot, similar to the 97s, I think. So you've got that happening. And then behind all that, you just have some lines in there. I don't think that they're 3M on this pair. On other pairs, sometimes they are, but you got that going across the middle area. And then at the very top, all you have is just that Nike swoosh, and that pretty much sums up everything. Well, it's that same nubuck material up at the top around the swoosh, in case anybody was curious. So moving on to the inside. Down there, what you're looking at is basically just your Nike and your swoosh. Red font, black background, basic stuff, right? And then the sock liner, nothing amazing, but it's just going to be what you should expect from your standard Air Max Plus, right? Nothing special, not a premium edition or anything like that. So it feels fine, it feels kind of like a stiffer version of nylon in a way, but I think that might just be the padding under it or something like that. But yeah, I think that's about it as far as the looks of the shoe goes, from inside to outside or outside to inside or whatever. So I'll hit you with some personal thoughts, then we'll get on into the sizing, right? Now, as I was saying before, I do really like the Air Max Plus. I wish I had more of them, but for whatever reason, I only have like the 5 or something. And this one, it's definitely one that I had my eye on as soon as I saw it, which is why I bought it pretty much as soon as I saw it. So here we are, talking about it, right? And I gotta say, getting it in hand and everything, I knew what I was getting into from the pictures because it's very much simple, but I like the way they did it because it just happens to look pretty good, right? And I needed more black and red colors in my little shoe lineup, which is a thing that I mentioned recently. So this does that, and it does it without being too weird, because the right colors can be used in the wrong way. Sometimes you got too much of one thing or whatever. This, I think, is a perfect balance, right? And it's an Air Max Plus, which, as I said, is a pretty good looking pair. So given that it's still kind of summer, it'll be a good thing to have, right? Because, well, all the reason that Air Max Plus is, right? Lightweight, breathable, all that good stuff. But I should probably talk more about that, just so you kind of have an idea of what you're going to be walking away with if you decide to buy a pair. So, wrapping up my personal thoughts, I like them. That's enough out of me. Let's go ahead and get on into like the actual sizing and the comfort and stuff, which I kind of got into before, but now we're going to like finish that part off for real. Okay, sizing wise, right? I bought these in a 9.5. That's my standard shoe size. It's my standard true to size, however you want to look at it. That's what I bought these in. They fit just fine, right? So I would suggest to anybody, go with your standard Air Max sizing, right? They do run a little slim, like on the sides or whatever. So if that's an issue for you, do whatever you would normally do in that situation. I can't quite think off the top of my head what other Nikes I would compare it to, but again, standard Air Max stuff, right? So whatever size you generally wear, you're probably going to be fine. Same goes with like Adidas type running shoes or something. Or you could just go back to the whole true to size thing, right? If you know what your actual size is, there you go. Moving on. I was talking about the upper here, and the upper on this, as I said, it's a different material than some of the other ones or whatever, because it is how they do with the Air Max Pluses. They like to switch it up just a bit. And this, even though it is a little stiffer than, say, my frequency pack pair, it's still going to be nice and breathable and still overall lightweight. It's just that, as a preference, the frequency pack pair is probably my favorite because it's got like a Presto sort of upper. This one, not a bad thing, but what I want you to walk away with this is, know that when you buy an Air Max Plus, you might want to look somewhat closely at it to see what the upper actually is, because if you have a preference, you might want to know that sort of stuff before you put your money down. So don't let me steer you away from this particular style. It's just not my preferred one, but it's still good, you know what I'm saying? So comparing them, I would say it's not like a huge difference, just like a slight personal thing. And as far as walking around on the midsole goes, that's pretty solid as well. I've got no complaints about it, but I'm not going to sit here and sing the praises of it either, because it is, at the end of the day, still just your older Air Max technology, which isn't amazing by today's standards, but it holds up fairly well. I'd say it's very much on par with other similar year Air Maxes, you know, or things that just look the same, like the Plus 2s and stuff like that. So if you're looking for a comfortable pair of shoes, this is going to do it for you. If you want your all-day wear, this is going to do it for you. And if you want something relatively cheap, this will likely do it for you if you time it right. But anyways, I don't think there's much else left to say about the size and their comfort or whatever. So we can go ahead and wrap this thing up, and I got 1, 2, 3 other reviews that I need to do here. So I don't want to dwell on this one for too long, even though I am very glad to have it and stuff, but that doesn't matter. All that matters is the information, and I've given you that. So, from me to you, have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night. Whatever it is, wherever you are, I am going to go and do the other reviews that I said I need to do. Well, I'm not going anywhere. They happen right here. You'll see. Later, people.